This is the Momma Fit Podcast. This podcast is dedicated to all those mamas out there that want to fit a workout in a day, or want to fit in a moment of bliss, or hey, you want to fit into those skinny jeans. Dana Dieters is the host of Momma Fit Podcast. She's a mother of two beautiful girls, a wife, and entrepreneur. Her passion became her profession when she had a wake-up call about 15 years ago. With the support of others and a positive attitude, she was able to overcome the hurdles in her life. This mama strives to wake up and conquer each day to make it better than the day before. Her passion for business and education to others is what drives this mama to be the best version of Momma Fit. With Dana's background, she hopes to help you with your business, health and fitness needs, family time in the kitchen, and give you motivation and inspiration to tackle your day. And most importantly, to help you fit in your Momma Fit time.
Welcome back to the Momma Fit Podcast. Thanks again for taking time out of your day to listen in and enjoy a little peace and calming, hopefully, for your day. My weeks have been really busy, actually, with people and nutrition. So we've been doing a lot of nutritional counseling with people with my program that I use. And a lot of things have came up with people having allergies. And so I wanted to bring light to gluten-free nutritional diet. Not a lot of people have to use it. Some people do because they have celiac, just like myself. So I have celiac disease and have been completely gluten-free for probably about a decade and a few years. I found out when I was 25 years old. I'm 38. Cannot believe that. So basically, I'm going to go through what it's like to have celiac, what it is, and who actually needs to live a gluten-free diet. I know there are a lot of celebrities out there that are just totally gluten-free lifestyle, living it because they think it's for other reasons other than having celiac. So a little annoyance on my end is when I go to a restaurant and I have to make sure that they know I have celiac because they think it's just a diet. So I need to make sure that they know I cannot have no cross-contamination. No one can touch anything that is not gluten-free and then touch my food. Like, it's off limits. I can get really sick. We have separate toasters at my house. We have separate pans in our home. Like, we literally have to make sure nothing gets touched. So I am like severe allergic to gluten. Before finding out, so I was sick prior to finding out I had celiac disease. I went years, and this is kind of my transition period from when I had an eating disorder to this. So I had a little bit of a transition period. I still wasn't well. My mind was not there yet, and I wasn't like totally healed from a eating disorder. So on the other end of me having to, I was still doing the workouts. I was still trying to be fit and healthy and have energy. I mean, I was like 25 when I found out. So that was back when I was 23 to 25 when it got really bad, where I couldn't even get out of bed. I was so tired. I was struggling in the worst way. My immune system was basically attacking my own body, and I was getting more ill and worse every single day. My bones and joints hurt. I was getting canker sores in my mouth. When I say that, they were covered. I was literally doing the Mayo Clinic mouthwash to basically numb my mouth so I couldn't feel it. It was so horrible. Like, it was horrendous. So my illness started with the types of symptoms that you could basically ignore in the beginning. Like, I had maybe gas or bloating, and that's kind of normal. Like, I felt like, oh, that's normal, whatever, when I ate food. And in the beginning, all the symptoms seemed pretty typical and were easy to mask because I could, for my tiredness, I just drank more caffeine stuff. And at that time, I was drinking Red Bull. Sugar-free Red Bull, because I was in college at the time, and that was cool back then. So that was what I was doing, and I was drinking a lot of it. I also would have extreme stomach cramping after every single meal. and which you could kind of get rid of with Imodium AD or Tums or something. I tried everything at this point, and it just seemed like it was just normal problems that I was typically having. So I didn't really feel like there was an issue. But I was working out really hard, and I still felt like I had this bloating stomach and I could not get rid of it. And I was so tired that it was just, this isn't right. Like I knew something wasn't right. So I, actually went into the doctor and I just said, there's something wrong. And I was going to the doctor like I would feel very often. Let's just be honest. I'm sure if I would get my records, it was very often, like every couple weeks I had something. I would have like a bladder infection. And I was like, what on earth? How would I get all these things? And I had a bladder infection for an entire summer. Like I literally was on antibiotics. So I'm sure that really helped my gut for gut health, because antibiotics will kill all your good health for your belly. So I'm sure it was just doing more damage. So anyways, I literally had so many issues. I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. I have got to get this figured out. So I went in, we did some tests with my doctor, and this was like, I like had enough. I was like, we need to figure this out. And then she finally said, let's just check you for celiac disease, because this seems like some of the symptoms could be true. And she's like, it's probably not, this is far-fetched, but we'll try it anyways. And let me remind you, I went there very often, and I was always told I had IBS because I had so many stomach issues. I know there are many people that get the same diagnosis, because I feel like IBS is just like, okay, irritable bowel syndrome, why are you having it? There has got to be a reason for it. It's just like one little stamp. There you go. You have it because you have something that sounds like it. It has to be something else. So I feel like people need to be their own advocate when it comes to their own health. So after taking that test, I was for sure showed signs of celiac. I had a very high number. And at that time, I never really heard about it. I looked it up on the internet that night, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. And it was like literally a textbook case of everything that I've gone through. Every one of my symptoms were listed right on the internet, which I thought was kind of nuts because of the fact that, I had this same thing for the longest time, and I never had anyone tell me I had it. So it is one of those hallmarks of the disease that's commonly misdiagnosed because of the fact that there's so many symptoms. And really what surprised me even more is that not one doctor I had been to even suggested this possibility until I think I had this issue even before my eating disorder and in high school, because I always had issues in high school too. But I finally got really bad right after my eating disorder. And I'm sure it's because of the stress I brought onto my body. And that's where it kind of flared. And that's kind of common with people if someone never had celiac before they were pregnant, your body gets overworked, overstressed, and people end up getting celiac after their pregnancy. You can get celiac at any point of your life. It is really, really common for people to get it later in life. So even if you feel like I've never been allergic to anything, don't ever say that, because something can totally switch and you can possibly be allergic. It's one from our environment, what we're putting in our bodies. Or what we're not putting in our bodies. So what people need to know is that celiac disease is a autoimmune disease. So the tendency for an autoimmune disease is genetic. So since many of my family members also suffer from the same thing, which never got brought out until I got diagnosed. So what I wonder is, how do all of the doctors miss this? Is it because celiac is not widely known, or is it misunderstood? I don't know, because it can be really confusing, but we are at a time now that is becoming more popular. And most of the time people don't know anything about celiac sprue. So how do you treat celiac sprue? And this is what my doctor said. just look for ingredients without gluten as an ingredient. So this is their advice. Turns out that it is a lot harder than I thought. So gluten is a byproduct of wheat, rye, and barley. I had no idea when I first started how many things have those ingredients. So obviously we all know bread, pasta, crackers are off the menu, but gluten is in almost in every processed food, candy, preservatives, marinades, packaged foods, and even soy sauce. So I thought that I ate healthy before. What I eat now is extremely healthy. So healthy has taken on a whole new meaning for me, and I miss the foods I used to eat. But after just a few days of being gluten-free right in the beginning, and every symptom I had went away. I just remember the feeling of how good I felt after going off of this gluten. It was so bizarre to me how I felt crappy all the time. I literally had this feeling of not well my whole life. I never really felt good. And when I felt good, I was like, this is what it's like to feel good. I was so shocked. This is how I should be living my life. All right. So one surprising fact I discovered through all this knowledge I now have about celiac is that there is an estimate of approximately 1 out of every 200 people in the US may have an undiagnosed celiac sprue. So this is a very grossly underdiagnosed disease and such an easy one to treat. Seriously, people, if you feel like you've got any of these symptoms, and I will repeat the symptoms again, just go to the doctor and check it out because it can literally save your life. You could feel better. If you have infertility issues and you don't know what's the cause of it because you've tried everything, I mean, it could be just something simple as that. If you're wondering if you have one of these, there's also many other symptoms. Like I said, I was going to talk to you about it's headaches. If you have like those chronic headaches that will never go away, this could be another symptom: fatigue and weakness, joint pain, numbness, and tingling in your hands and feet. Osteoporosis is another one because you're not absorbing that calcium and vitamin D. If you have weird rashes like I had before too, I would literally have like little red bumps and they would be so itchy. Abdominal pain, obviously, and heartburn is another one. If you have a child, it could be diarrhea, constipation, weight loss, failure to thrive, or development delays. I mean, it can start as early as they are born. I mean, it's really rare, but it can happen, especially if it's in the family. Like my dad has it. I have 2 cousins that have it. I have some distant cousins that have it as well. And I feel like there are more, but some don't want to get tested. It's fine. It's what it is. Also, malabsorption are classic symptoms of celiac disease, especially if you're having diarrhea, because of the fact that you are not able to absorb the vitamins and minerals that you need. So, for example, people who complain of weakness, fatigue, and are anemic is because they cannot absorb iron in their diet. So for me, I don't eat a lot of red meat in general. So I was anemic when I was pregnant. And after pregnancy, I had to be on iron tablets because I was anemic. So some things that you may need to do if you have celiac is you have to get in different vitamins just so that your body is absorbing them a lot better. Like we don't get vitamin D very well. We don't absorb it. So we need more of it. So again, it is super simple, you guys. If you feel like you have any of these symptoms or many of them, it would be a good idea to get a blood test. And if the screening blood test is positive, then an endoscopy and biopsy of the lining of your small intestine is recommended. So that's usually performed under sedation as well and goes through the mouth, through the esophagus and stomach into your small intestine to get a small bit of tissue to be examined. It is not bad. It is very easy. It's super simple, you guys. You just have to think of how good you will feel afterwards. So with this episode, I just want to educate others on this commonly misdiagnosed disease that I had to deal with and I still am dealing with today and I probably will forever. And if you have any of these combinations of symptoms like I did, talk to your doctor to find out if you can be tested. A blood test determines the gene and biopsy determines the extent of the damage. So untreated celiac sprue can be very serious and life-threatening and also can lead to some cancers. So left untreated can be very serious. But treating your celiac sprue with a gluten-free diet may alleviate all the symptoms and can greatly lower your risk of digestive tract cancers. Remember, you guys, you are your own health advocate. Please take care of yourself by paying attention to your body and knowing what you need and telling your doctor. Again, thank you for listening for this week's podcast, and I will talk to you next week.
Thanks so much for spending your time with the Momma Fit Podcast. Dana is so happy to share her tips and tricks with you. If you loved this podcast, we'd be so happy if you could share this episode with your friends and family. Also, if you have time, please leave us a review of your honest thoughts and reflections of the podcast on iTunes or our app. We'd be so grateful. If you have any topic or suggestion that you want answered, leave those in the comments below and make sure that you fit in your Momma Fit time.